Hello everyone, welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're all good and well. I'm ready for another Saturday premiere and a special collaboration video this time round because I've got joining me once again, we've got John, JC Rocker Metal Reviews, we've got Hector, Chill Dude on a Couch Reviews as well. And what we're going to be doing for this kind of special edition, if you like, we're going to be counting down our top 10 melodic death metal albums of all time. The scene that can probably be traced back to the, death metal back in the kind of late 1980s, but it was really developed and popularized by all those, big kind of Gothenburg scene bands, some of which I'm sure we'll talk about as we're going through our countdown of our top 10. I'm sure there'll be albums from those bands in these lists. I'll be surprised if none of them are mentioned, put it that way. Well, I know they're on my list, so there we go. But anyway, without much further chit chat, we're going to start very, very shortly, but we're going to do the first round as 10 to 6. And we're going to go through those reasonably quickly for the first round. And then the second round, we'll be counting down our numbers 5 to 1. So how are you both doing today, guys?
Doing good.
Doing good, man. Doing
good. I have my tea, as I always have in my collaboration videos. We're going to start with John today. He's going to start us by counting down his numbers 10 to 6. So take it away, John.
Okay, so my number 10 is the band Hypocrisy with the album Worship. This one came out in 2021. The first time I ever heard of this band. I reviewed the album, back then. I liked it a lot. I thought it was like really cool. They're a melodic death metal band. I think they're from Sweden, and they write about like sci-fi stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. Like a lot of their albums are about like aliens and things. So I like that one. Songs I like: Chemical Whore, Greedy Bastards, Children of the Grey, and Bug in the Net.
Good album.
My number 9 is Insomnium with Shadows of the Dying Sun. This is from 2014. This was kind of a hard one to pick. Insomnium has lots of good albums. Even their last one was very good. I just went with this one. I thought it was the one I liked the best. This is a band I think they have they're melodic death metal, but they're a little more like atmospheric, I guess. So I think that makes them stand out. Favorite songs: While We Sleep, Black Heart Rebellion, and Collapsing Worlds. And number 8, this one might be a little controversial. I have At the Gates, but I have At War with Reality. I know most people would pick their 1995 album, what's it called, Slaughter of the Soul.
Slaughter of the Soul, yeah.
Yeah, Slaughter of the Soul. I almost had that on my list, but then I thought about it and I'm thinking, I like this one better. It came out in 2014. I think it was just a little more like Slaughter of the Soul was more like straightforward and it was very influential. But this one, I think they kind of experimented a little more. So I changed it kind of like at the last minute. So I went with that's my number 8 favorite songs: At War with Reality, Circular Ruins, Heroes and Tombs, Conspiracy of the Blind, and Order from Chaos. At number 7, I have Amorphous, and I chose Queen of Time from 2018.
Yeah, that's a great album.
Amorphous Amorphous is a great band. I really like the earlier stuff. I would have went for I think it was like the Tales of the Lakes or whatever it's called. But I felt that was more like Death Doom, and their later stuff is more melodic death metal. So that's why I went with Queen of Time. I really love the song "The Bee." That's the first track. I like that a lot. And the other songs are like Daughter of Hate, Golden Elk, and Wrong Direction. And number 6, this one might be surprising, Dark Tranquility. And I chose Fiction from 2007. And I guess I like this one a little better. Dark Tranquility. I know a lot of people, they're kind of like one of those bands like In Flames. Like a lot of people like their earlier stuff. I think I forgot the name of their early album. I think it's called like The Eye or something like that. But I like this one. I think this one is
it's a really good album. I had lots of great albums in the 2000s, I think.
Oh yeah. So they were pretty good. So real quick, I'll just some of the tracks are Terminus, Ice for Her, Inside the Particle Storm. That was really good. Mundane and Magic. I like the female vocals in that one. So so that's it. That's my 10 through 6. So I'll let you guys continue.
nice. You're very.
And just to say, if either of you get the chance to see Hypocrisy live, go and see them. They are phenomenal live. I saw them last year for the first time, and they just blew me away. So Yeah, if you see Hypocrisy, if you get the chance to see them, just go see them. They're great. All right, Hector, you're 10 to 6.
Nice. So I'm not as organized as JC is. So my number 10 is a band that's called Morse Principium Est. And they have an album called Elbers of a Dying World that came out like a few years ago. And it's pretty cool. You know, it's pretty like melodic death metal. They have some great songs here, like Reclaim the Sun, Masquerade, Into the Dark. And, you know, I think it's a very solid album. That's my number 10. With number 9, I went with Amon Amarth. I know Amon Amarth can be like Viking metal, but there's also like melodic death metal to them. And I went with the album that I thought is their best, which is Twilight of the Thunder God. And in this album, you know, I think you know, like you just have to say how many songs about like Viking lore and gods can they write? Well, a whole fucking lot, because like almost all their albums are that. And I like their, let me get the songs. I'm not as organized as JC is. So yeah, I love Guardians of the Asgard, No Fear for the Setting Sun, and Twilight of the Thunder God, obviously, which opens the album. You know, those
good album.
Yeah, it's a great album, and that's why I have my list on my phone. That's why I'm like,
I think I really like Guardians of Asgard. That's a great song, actually.
Yeah, it's a great song, and I think that is like their best album after, you know, after so many other things. So that's why I like it. So I'm gonna get my number 8 once my phone starts helping me out. Now I can get my list. Okay, I have my list again. So at number 8, I have Arch Enemy. And I have the album from 2004, the one that has We Will Rise. And yeah, that's when they have Angela. And I actually saw that Arch Enemy lineup on Ozfest of 2005. So I got to see them. And I know that they have the other singer now. I actually preferred their other singer. Her name escaped me right now. What was her name? Because I forgot her name.
Angela Glasgow. Huh?
Angela Glasgow. And the album is Anthems of Rebellion. And I like We Will Rise. I love Dead Eye, See No Future, and Exist to Exist. So yeah, it's just a great potent album. And that's my number 8. And I got to see them. So coming up at my number 7, I have sorry about that. I have Death with Leprosy. And obviously Death are like the forefathers of like melodic, like death metal, and they almost like created the genre, if you think of it, right? I know Chuck Schillinger he's like cited as someone who a lot of like bands look up to in different genres, not only melodic. I know they're leaning more into the death metal, but I thought, yeah, you know, this album is really great, you know, with songs like Let It Die, Open Casket, Choke on It, Primitive Ways. You know, it's just a great album with a great cover.
All their albums are great albums, aren't they? Death have a flawless discography, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a shame. That's my number 1. I'm at number 7, right?
That was your number 7, I think.
Okay. So coming up last, you know, it's not as easy to like that, like put them down. So at number 6, I have Amorphis, but with the album, I didn't went with Queen of Time. I went with Under the Red Cloud, which I think came after or before.
Yeah,
I'm not sure because there's a time
before, I think.
That came before. I think that's the one before Queen of Time. So
yeah.
There's a time in the 2010s that Amorphis was really like setting the bar like really up with the albums that they were putting out. And I really love Under the Red Cloud. It had some great songs like Death of a King, which I think was one of the singles. You know, it had the Four Wise Ones and the title track Under the Red Cloud. love, and I got to see them live. Check out this lineup that I saw back when I was living in Florida. The first 6 months, I went to a show that the show was just look at the lineup. It was Omnium Gatherum, Moonspell, Amorphis, and Dark Tranquility.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah.
And the ticket was like $25. So
oh wow, yeah,
I got to see all those bands, and Dark Tranquility was the headliner, and I'm telling you, it was amazing and not expensive, and it wasn't like in a small, it wasn't a big place. So yeah, I got to see them, and so yeah, and Amorphis, yeah, I think that was when they were promoting Queen of Time, but yeah, Under the Red Cloud. I would have gone with Queen of Time or Under the Red Cloud, but I went with Under the Red Cloud. So yeah, those are my top 10 to 6.
Yeah, we'll come to my Amorphis album pretty soon as well. All right, so I better get on with my numbers 10 through to 6. So my number 10 is actually by a band called Blood Red Hourglass, and this is their 2015 release, Where the Oceans Burn. And I'm actually going to share my screen for this one so people can see the album, because I don't think they're super well known in melodic death metal. Let me bring it up. So there we go. There it is.
No,
So
I haven't listened to them.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is probably the least known album on my list, but it's it's just really, really good. I really enjoy this album. It's like they took the Children of Bodom sound and they made it a little bit more progressive, and they kind of expanded that sound a bit. And it's quite thrashy. It's more on the thrashy side of melodic death metal. I would say it's lots of thrashy riffs, and I think it went under the radar, this album, quite a bit. I wouldn't say it's not necessarily flawless, but it has so many great songs in it. I think worth a look. That's my number 10. My number 9 is Children of Bodom. Rest in peace, Alexei. This is Hate Through Death Roll, which is one of their more, again, very thrashy album. It's not like more on the keyboard melodic side of the band's music, where he synchronizes up a lot of his riffing with those melodic lead guitar lines and keyboard moments and stuff. This is just chunky. It's very heavy for a lot of it, but the riffs are really great. I almost picked Hatebreeder. I don't know if either of you know Children of Bodom particularly well, but I nearly picked Hatebreeder, but I couldn't really decide. In the end, I could have picked either, to be honest. I went with Hate Crew Death Roll. My number 8, I think you both know this band for sure. Black Dahlia Murder, Ever Black.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, a band where the lead singer has recently passed away. But I mean, I really enjoy the guitar work on this album, particularly. I've got to get their names, actually. I did write them down. So there's Brian Eschbach and Ryan Knight are the two guitarists doing, coordinating a lot of great guitar work on this album, solos, and it's just I think it's pretty brilliant. I could have chosen any of a few albums from this band as well. They're so consistent. I love Verminous, which is quite a recent album from the band. I loved Abysmal. I liked Nocturnal. Was it Nocturnal from 2007 as well? And I could have picked probably any one of those. Nightbringers as well. I could just run through.
But I agree.
Most of
that one is amazing.
This is really great. Yeah, really, really great. Number 8.
I saw them in Puerto Rico. I saw the Black Dahlia Murder twice, and one of the times that I saw them, it was in Puerto Rico, but the venue was strange. It was in a nice building, and you had to enter the nice lobby, and it was in a balcony. And there were people like moshing, and you could have fell to the street because it was like in a second floor or something. And Trevor was like so nice when the concert ended. He just like went and talked to the people and walked around shirtless, like super nice guy. I didn't put them on my list because to me they're like more hard death metal, so I didn't put them on this like melodic side. But yeah, a great band.
Yeah, I looked them up to check that they had melodic death metal against their name. So, there's great tracks on here actually. Like, Goat of Departure is one of my favorites. Phantom Limb Masturbation. What a name for a track that is. But yeah, it's got that really grim, really catchy riff on that one. So that's my number 8. My number 7. We move on to Amorphis. It's weird. We've all picked Amorphis albums at roughly the same points in our list, and I've gone Skyforger. So it's cool that we picked 3 different ones. Because I very nearly went with your one, Hector, Under the Red Cloud, because that's also fantastic. But so is Queen of Time. And then you sort of find their second half of their careers. I think when about the time Tommy came in, they just kept getting better and better. This was the third one with Tommy on the vocals, and love the artwork. That's another thing entirely. But yeah, Sampo. I'm not sure I've heard many albums that start with 4 tracks that just are really great, like Sampo, Silver Bride, From the Heaven of My Heart, Sky Is Mine. Yeah, it's one of these albums where the vocals are the thing with this band. I think that always just shine so much. Amorphous. So that brings me on to number 6, and eerily, I have picked the same album that John picked at number 6, Dark Tranquillity, Fiction. Again, I couldn't really make my mind up between that one and Mind's Eye, because I love Mind's Eye a lot. One of their more classic albums, and there's actually a couple of their more recent albums I still haven't heard either. Like, I think it's Moment. I've not heard that yet. So I've still got some catching up to do with Dark Tranquillity, but I love Fiction a lot. I really like that album. Icifer, you mentioned, is a great song. Focus Shift, the one that they always play live, Misery's Crown.
Misery's Crown.
Yeah. So that's my 10 to 6. So we're now going to go and do 5 to 1. We're going to go back round for the second round. We've got a little bit more time to spend, I think, to talk a bit more about our top 5. So John, back to you.
Okay. So my number 5 is actually one that Hector had, Amon Amarth, and I also chose Twilight of the Thundergod. I think that's definitely their best album. It's just start to finish. Just it's Viking metal, but they have that melodic death metal. They have their like a specific style. They do a lot of those like deep guttural vocals, that like tremolo picking. And I think this is just like their peak. They've had like other pretty good albums, but I think this is the best one. This is also the first album I ever heard with this band, and also one of the first like melodic death metal bands that I've got into, and this was like one of my starting points. So that's my number 5. Really not much else more to say about it. So that's my 5. Am I going to continue, or are we going to kind of alternate now?
Yeah, keep going on to your 4. Yeah, 3, 2, 1.
Keep going down to my 1. Okay. At number 4, I have Carcass with Heartwork. This is another band, arguably like one of the first melodic death metal bands ever released. Just a great song start to finish. I like No Love Lost, Blind Leading the Blind, Heartwork. Just a really great album. The Jeff Walker does those vocals and he plays the bass, and they were able to, like, they started as like a grindcore band, and then they kind of went into like melodic death metal. So I thought that was very interesting. And this album is really great. I also like their other album from 2014. I kind of went back and forth, but I chose Heartwork. Number 3, I have In Flames. I'm pretty sure In Flames is going to come up with you guys as well. This one's hard, but I went with Colony. I guess that's the one I like the best. It's still their old school melodic death metal style. This is when I guess they were starting to move into that more like alternative style. I really like Ordinary Story. I think that's my favorite song from In Flames. But I also like Zombie Incorporated, and they did another version of Behind Space. So I like that one a lot. And number 2, I have some Children of Bodom, and I had the one that you picked, the Hate Crew Death Roll. That's also my favorite album from this band. Yeah, I like it because, like I said, it was more like thrashier. I think it might have had maybe a little bit more of that new metal style. I think it came out in like 2001 or something like that.
Yeah,
Lots of great songs.
And
Yeah, 2001, right? Needle 24/7. That's like one of the best songs. And
2003. Yeah.
Welcome Beach Terror. You're Better Off Dead. So this is just a great album. I like this band a lot. I think I kind of struggled a little bit to pick one from Children of Bodom because they have like so many great albums. But I went with Hate Crew, Death Roll. And my number one was the hardest one for me to pick because it's Arch Enemy. And that's my favorite melodic death metal band. But I went with, again, the one Hector picked, Anthems of Rebellion. Just that song, We Will Rise, it's just a great song. But this one, just start to finish, it's just great. Everything from like Silent Wars, Dead Eyes See No Future, Leader of the Rats. I mean, this is just a great song, start to finish. So that's it. That's my number one was Anthems of Rebellion. I probably could have picked a different Arch Enemy album because there's so many really great ones. But I went with this one. So that's it. So that's my 5-1.
Good
Nice.
choices.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, we have a few ones similar. So, okay, now it's up to me. So my number 5, it's an album that came out in 2013, and it was a double album by Soilwork, The Living Infinite. And I'm telling you, like this could have been a bad idea, but my God, I don't know what Soilwork like hit it out of the park with this album. You know, it's a double album that you never get bored with it, and it's like I think it's like 20 something songs. It's really hard to pick like really great songs from it, but I love this Momentary Bliss, the Living Infinite one, you know, the Living Infinite 2, you know, it's just like so many good songs on this record. Even the album closer, Auspredict, Oracle, Stand Guard, you know, it was just an amazing album that when it came out, it floored me. I actually bought that one on CD, and I thought it was very ballsy of a band to do a double album. And I think you know, Soilwork have a lot of like great albums, even the last one that they put out last year, but this is still my favorite Soilwork album. And I also got to see Soilwork in Ozfest 2005. So most of these bands I've seen live, so that's a great thing. So that's my number 5. So my number 4, it's with Insomnium, and it's the same album that JC picked. I actually saw Insomnium play also when I was in Florida, and I saw them in a little dive bar. I'm telling you, it was a shitty bar. Like, but look at the lineup. The band, the Oceans of Slumber, opened. So it was Oceans of Slumber, which is a great band.
Yeah.
I didn't put them on this title because they're more on the prog side of things. Yeah, they opened for Insomnium, and you know, it was great. And I picked, you know, Insomnium. I like the Winters one that's more like they have like a theme with it. But I think Shadows of the Dying Song was the album that really got me into them. So that's why I like them. I love the While We Sleep is a great track. Black Heart Rebellion, you name it. You know, it's Shadows of the Dying Song that closes the album.
I like that album a lot. But what I really love about that album is how good it sounds. Like, of all their albums, that album just sounds terrific, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And you know that when I saw them live, their bass player and singer kind of looked a little bit like James Hetfield from the 90s. He did. He had and I'm like, yeah, I'm like, is that James Hetfield from the 90s? Like, no. But yeah, I got to see them live, so it was great. So that's my number 4. So yeah, we're getting into the nitty gritty. So my top 3 is really hard because all of these bands are amazing, and I've seen all of them live too. So it's great. So at number 3, I'm picking In Flames, and with In Flames, I went into their old school discography to pick this one. So I picked the Jester Race. You know, it was not easy to see which one I would pick because they're all good, but I think the Jester Race with songs like the Jester Race, Artifacts of the Black Rain, Dead Eternity, you know, it's just a great album that, you know, it's just melodic death metal Gothenburg sound to a T. And that's why I picked that one. And at number 2, I also pick an album that all of you picked from Dark Tranquility, because Fiction is I think it's my favorite album from them. And I got to see them not once, but twice, because I saw them in 2010 in Puerto Rico, where they played a club. And then I saw them a few years later. And obviously, Misery's Crown. They, like, when you see like, don't bring your misery down on me. That is great. And in the concert that I saw them in Florida, I was in the row. I was like in the front, like I high-fived the singer.
Oh,
like, yo, it was amazing. He's like,
yeah.
And yeah, this was pre-COVID, so everyone could high-five and, you know, touch each other, and it was beautiful. So yeah, that album, Fiction, you know, Misery's Crown, Blind at Heart, Terminus, Where Death is Most Alive, you know, it's just great. And they played a lot of that album in the concert that I saw them. So that's my number 3. So coming up at number 2, wait, I think that was my number 2, right?
I think it was your number 2. Yeah.
Yes, that was my number 2. So my number 1. So I went with one that you would be surprised that I picked this one as my number 1. But I picked it because this is an album that came out in 2014. It's the album Beyond from Omnium Gatherum.
Oh, good pick. I didn't think of that one. That's a really good album.
That's and you know, I will tell you the story why I picked this was my number 1. When this album came out, I had just lost my job, and I was like looking for work. And I remember listening to songs from this album, and it's a melodic death metal album, but there's like a lot of hope in the album because it's called Beyond. And it's really emotional album. And there's songs like White Place, The Unknowing, who could say, you know, it's just a great, In the Rim, New Dynamic. All the songs here are great. And I remember like being like in front of the beach, like listening to this and like thinking positive for the Beyond. So that's why I think that album really stuck with me. And I don't think they have done some other great albums after that, but I think this is their masterpiece, Beyond. I just love it, and that's why I have it at my number 1.
Yeah, I like that one quite a bit, actually. That's a really good one. Yeah.
It's like, oh, you picked that as the number 1, like, yeah.
Well, yes. I mean, sometimes it's the albums that have stuck with you or helped you through difficult times, isn't it? Yeah. So fair enough. Yeah, interesting one. Yeah. So I've got to do my top 5 now. So my number 5, one of the more predictable choices, I guess, considering this is one of the more popular albums from that whole Gothenburg scene. At the Gates, Slaughter of the Soul. I think there's some great stuff on here. Under a Serpent's Sun and Suicide Nation are maybe my 2 favorites. They just get kind of a bit more creative with their rhythm guitar work, I think, in those songs. Really good. Yeah, it's a lot of great tracks. Blinded by Fear is a good opening track. Slaughter of the Soul, the title track. Unto Others. It is a classic, and it's one of those, that helped coming out about the same time as a couple of other classic albums, 95, I think. It was 95, wasn't it? Yeah. So that's my number 5. My number 4 is not one I have a CD of, actually. This is Edge of Sanity, and this is Crimson 2. So Crimson 2. I almost picked Crimson 1, but I just don't quite enjoy it as much as Crimson 2. Crimson 2 for me sounds a bit better, sounds a bit more upfront. Crimson 1, the production isn't quite as good, basically. But Crimson 1 is still a classic, and it's front to back, you know, just one track basically of Dan Swano, you know, playing through all these really good themes. And the second album is similar. The second album, Crimson 2, has some strange transitions in it, but I still like it more than Crimson One because it's just got these really good melodic death riffs sort of throughout its entire kind of 40-minute-ish runtime. It's just a great album. I think Crimson 2. My number 3 is Insomnium. Which Insomnium album though? Which one? Is it Shadows of the Dying? Not Shadows of the Dying Sun though. Above the Weeping World, 2006. Yeah, I think for me, I'm torn with this band. They have a lot of great albums. I really liked Heart Like a Grave, and that was my number 1 of 2019. So I almost chose that over this, but I went back to this and thought, this is just, I like this just a little more than that. Shadows of the Dying Sun's a classic as well, with, like I was saying, you know, that's got the sound that you want from Insomnium on that album. But this has, for me, all the songs I really love, like Drawn to Black, Last Statement. Do you guys know Last Statement on this album? Have you checked it out?
I think so.
Yeah, that's an amazing.
I'm not sure right now.
Yeah. Groves of Death, Into the Groves of Death. Yeah, great album as well. So it brings me down to my number 2. And surprisingly, I haven't got this one on CD either. And Hector, this was one of your picks. I remember you put this at your number 3, I think, In Flames, Jester Race. Yeah. I mean, this is In Flames gold. It's just gold. All the way through, this album is full of. And what I like about this kind of an album more than some of the other Gothenburg albums, I think, is those the solos match all the kind of rhythm work so well. Those guitar solos are so good on this album. You know, you mentioned I think December Flower, Dead Eternity, Jester Race. Those songs, I think, they have just the most incredible guitar solos on them. And that, you know, I love my solos. So always I gravitate towards that sort of death metal album, I guess, melodic death metal, and Jester Race is just such a classic. Again, difficult because Colony, John mentioned Colony. I love Colony a lot as well, and it would have been either this or Colony, and I went with Jester Race in the end. Jester Race I heard before I heard Colony, so that partly swayed it a bit because Jester Race got me into In Flames, basically. And then my number one melodic death metal album of all time, and I've talked about it before on my channel at least a couple of times because I did a Soilwork tier list not so long ago when they put out their last album, Overgivenheten, last year, and this was in S tier, and so you both might be able to guess what this is, or whoever's watching will as well. Soilwork, Chain Heart Machine. Absolutely incredible album from Soilwork, I think, personally. And this helped get me into death metal, this album too. So it's sort of my kind of, it's like a pillar to me of some, you know, a bit of a kind of landmark album for me personally. And it just sort of, gateway album, sorry, gateway is the word, getting me more into more extreme, heavier stuff. And the thing that just, again, that got me into this, it's the dual guitar work and the just the incredible guitar harmonies that are at play in like the title track, Chain Heart Machine, which is really brutal at the same time, and yet that, you know, it goes at 1,000 miles an hour or however many beats per minute. But it has just, again, just such great instrumental work. Bullet Beast, incredible. Million Flame, I'm just going to read through the track list, but yeah, Generation Speedkill might be my favorite apart from the title track. That song is phenomenal too. So Chain Heart Machine is my number 1. Soilwork album, my number 1 melodic death metal album of all time as things stand. I'm not sure if anything will ever beat Chain Heart Machine for me. But yeah, I mean, Jester Race is very, very close behind it in the running in my list. So yeah, I guess that's it. So we finished actually a touch quicker than I was actually expecting. I thought this would go on for nearly an hour. I think it's going 40 minutes-ish. So yeah, I mean, wasn't going to do any honorable mentions, but there are lots. I mean, there are so many great melodic death metal albums that are coming out still now. I mean, some of our picks are quite recent. I mean, like Beyond Bionium Gatherums, what, 10 years ago, I think?
10 years ago.
Yeah. And I think, you know, Scandinavia is, like, for me, where you get a lot of the hotbed of just great melodeath albums coming out time after time. And yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll get some more from probably some of these names as well. And In Flames are sort of back in form a bit with their Foregone album earlier this year.
Yeah.
Who knows what will come next from them? Soilwork just always deliver. At the Gates, will be interested to see what, I don't know if they've got an album coming up soon. I haven't heard from them. Maybe
yeah. Because there's newer bands.
And they might. They had one in 2021, right? Yeah.
Okay. I think I missed their latest album then. So I think the one I last heard was 2017 or 2018.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah, and yeah, there's other bands as well coming up and coming out. Yeah, like so many really good new ones. So yeah, lots to look forward to. So thanks very much to my two guests, as always, for giving up their time, because it's quite early where they are in the world compared to me. It's 2:30 here in UK, but where they are, I think it's like 8:30 in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. It's 7:30 for me.
7:30 for John. So like that is commitment. So thanks everybody for watching, as always, and don't forget to drop your like and subscribe to John, JC Rocker Meta Reviews. He has great content, album reviews, lists, rankings, all that sort of thing. To Hector, Children on My Couch, also for his content on reviews and interviews with great bands and upcoming bands as well. And for me, of course, you know probably who I am if you're finding the channel by now, with my similar content with reviews and content on sci-fi, horror, and fantasy related things too. So thanks, everybody. Until next time, bye from me and bye from my guests.
Bye.
See you later.